watch on some live right now. That's it. All right, y'all. Marvin, Just Media, Utah. Some of you may have noticed the live stream that was posted just before this in regards to the Topher Park area in downtown Salt Lake City, Utah, where a lot of unsheltered and unhoused residents camp out during these cold nights, and it's a cold morning as well. But so what the city had done was today was the first time that we noticed any type of outreach effort was made on any real, if you want to call it that, real visual scale. They erected a couple canopies, brought in a couple organizations to basically start to build this narrative that they've already been pretty public about in regards to raids on these unsheltered and houseless camps where people live. So they've been pretty open about it. I'd say since Mendenhall took office, and even with the previous administration, but definitely over the past few weeks, how they were very blatant and said that they're going to basically end all these camps of unhoused people and unsheltered folks. So what they did preemptively, the 23rd was the deadline, or the date that they said they were going to begin or continue heavy enforcement of this city ordinance of not camping. So keep in mind, this is just a city ordinance that they're using to harass unsheltered and houseless people, and they're also using the health department, the cover of the health department, to push the narrative that it's unsanitary conditions and things like that. So what we saw today was a weak attempt of trying to present as if they are doing some tangible outreach, which we witnessed yesterday and today is a false narrative for sure that they're hoping the public jumps on board with. What it is they erected a couple canopy tents yesterday that consisted of one person standing under basically like 3 different canopy tents that had no questions when asked on what services they were providing. Today, they showed up with more canopy tents, as well as some more quote-unquote social workers that were being escorted. Social workers were wearing bulletproof vests as well, being escorted by local SLCPD police department. I went through to just ask what services they were offering, who had set this up, this, that, and the other. They immediately started asking who I was with, and said they didn't have any answers for me, although I was told that they were the ones with the answers when I approached some of the canopy tents with some of the outreach they talked about they were out there doing. But what I also noticed when I was there was this parking lot that they set these canopy tents up in with a few tables and shit like that. The outreach workers that were there were not leaving that parking lot initially, and so I asked the workers if they were doing outreach. They said yes. I said, doesn't that consist of going out and talking to the people that are at that point there within this group? There was a few tents that were within 30 feet of these people. They told me specifically that the health department told them that they could not leave that area and approach the tents and stuff like that. So I asked who had started this event and who was in charge of it, and who was responsible for it. They said Salt Lake City and the Salt Lake County Health Department. So I asked who the people specifically were that could answer some questions for me. They pointed me to a couple people that were answering questions to some, it looked like reporter types. So I approached them, started asking some simple questions, as in what services and resources are you guys offering and providing here today, and when does it end, and whose event is this, who initiated it, and they were hesitant, if not refusing, to answer those questions. They said they didn't know the answers. So I thought they were pretty simple questions. But they got real deflecting and all that sort of stuff when I started talking to them about it. So, but what was confirmed by many of the unsheltered residents, as well as overheard from the cop that was escorting some social workers that finally did start making their rounds, just about 30 minutes ago. Keep in mind, this event's supposed to go on until 3 p.m. this afternoon, and that's it. So I didn't see any tents or any actual outreach or any appearance of outreach happening until about 30 minutes ago. And even that outreach was 2 social workers walking around in bulletproof vests, escorted by a Salt Lake City PD officer whose name and badge number I did get. It's documented elsewhere. So from there, what was also overheard from this cop stating was that at 3 o'clock they are going to start the raids on that particular camp, and I suspect probably others. What you need to pay attention to is that this is the first even attempt, and we know it's a false narrative that they're trying to begin and continue to push, but it was the first actual visual attempt that we saw of the city posing as if they are doing some actual tangible outreach and sharing taxpayer resources with those who are in need. So this was the first time we ever really witnessed something like this. But what you got to pay attention to is these resources, that the minimal resources that they showed up with today. Well, actually, one thing to point out is a camera crew showed up with, for the first time after this 2-day event today, about, I'd say it was about noon, 12:30-ish maybe, where finally some social workers did show up and basically start occupying these canopy tents or whatever. So they're there for basically at that point a 3-hour span until 3 p.m. when this event ends. And what was confirmed by the cop communicating that to some unsheltered folks was that at 3 p.m. they were going to start these raids on this particular camp, as well as I suspect probably others. So pay attention to how that plays out. These resources, these minimal resources they brought out there today to offer in hopes of the optics, the false optics of them making any type of real tangible efforts is bullshit. So this false-ass, bogus-ass event that they did today, they had the opportunity to do that at any point, all the time. They could do that event weekly and actually bring some real tangible resources to that event as well. They have the funding, they have everything to do that as often as they want, but they chose to do it today and ended at 3 p.m., which is just prior to that same camp getting raided. So, you got to pay attention to those types of, things when these officials start playing their political theater and pushing these false and bogus-ass narratives as to what it's really about. So, as I said, there was minimal resources there. The people there that were there from other organizations to provide resources they told me specifically that they were told that they could not leave the parking lot they were in to approach these tents that were within, 30, 40 feet in some places. And they were told that by the Salt Lake County Health Department. So I actually brought the same conversation to those that they said that were in charge of this event and said, why aren't people able to go out there and approach these tents? Aren't you guys here for outreach? And they're like, well, we regularly have people go out there. They're out there at different times of the week. They start pushing that. So I'm like, well, today this is coined as an outreach event. You have all these services that you're saying you're providing right here in this parking lot, and many that need the minimum of those services that you guys have brought here today, and you guys aren't doing any actual outreach. Outreach takes going out to them and letting them know what you guys are providing. They wouldn't even give me an explanation on what services they were providing, when that should, they asked me who I was with, if I have a business card, what's my name, what organization or business I was with. I told them I was a community member, which I am, a concerned community member at that. And they I guess, refused to answer any of my questions under the context of they didn't know the answers, although one lady there was in charge, as stated, and her boss was standing right next to her. So I said, well, if you're the boss, maybe you have the answers to this. His rebuttal was, well, I just started a few weeks ago, so I'm still learning. So at that point, all the bosses were there, apparently, or the people in charge of the events, with no answers. And were being real cryptic and deflective and all that sort of stuff, and then forwarded me a number to Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall's PR director, I believe, and said that they'd be happy to answer any questions I had. So I just wanted to give a quick update that yes, they are planning on raiding Telford Park at 3 p.m. That was confirmed by many of the residents currently living there, as well as overheard by the cop that was on the scene, stating that specifically, all nonchalantly at that, to unsheltered people that were there. He said he was giving them a heads up that they were coming in about 3. So with that being said, just wanted to give updates, let y'all know what's going on, and pay attention to what's going on out there. Where this situation is actually happening at is between 200 East, 300 East, and 700 South in downtown Salt Lake City, Utah, near Topher Park is what it's called. Where many people seek refuge and community, because the city continues to push unsheltered and houseless residents around this city without providing any real tangible resources or space where they're permitted to actually just live. So, and then just pay attention to the narratives and the timeline of how they, the timeline of their actions. This event is an event, at the least, could be done on a weekly basis if they're saying that their real intent and they're sincere about helping the unsheltered and houseless situation here locally, but they choose to do it the same day that they already have a planned and scheduled raid at that same location. That event's only scheduled to go on till 3 p.m. today, and that's actually the time that's been confirmed that they plan on also bringing in law enforcement and probably Salt Lake County Health Department to once again do what we've seen them doing for, at this point, years. Just shuffling people from left to right, not providing any real resolve or resolutions or support, primarily for these communities, and at the same time stealing their shit, throwing their shit away, all the stuff these people own often, and doing this on a day like today, where I believe the temperature is like low 50s right now in the middle of the day. So we know winter's starting. And just notice, it's sad to see that although this has gone on year round from the state and city here locally in Salt Lake City, Utah, that this is actually beginning to escalate as the weather gets colder, which is cruel to think about. So just wanted to give an update, keep you all posted, and let you know all know the deal. Thanks for paying attention, and thanks for everybody's support, and thanks for caring.